All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Today we are looking at ISTE Standard for students, and we are on session 3, which is the Knowledge Constructor. And this, again, is our third session over the ISTE student standards. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time this morning just talking about what the standards are for those that haven't, that weren't able to be here for the first two, but we're going to kind of go through it pretty quickly because I think quite a few people in here have seen the first two sessions of this. So one more time, the link to sign into today's session is in the chat, and we'll get started. What are the ISTE student standards? They're presented by an organization called ISTE that is kind of the science and technology and education. They're the gurus. They're the go-to people for a lot of this information, and so they came up. And it wasn't just a few years ago. They've been doing this for quite a while. Some standards for students, teachers, administrators, coaches, and computer science educators to show what teaching in this day and age should probably look like. And these standards they work in tandem with the Common Core, with the NGSS. They're supposed to enhance the frameworks that you may already be using, like SAMR or TPAC, and they are in line with the National Education Technology Plan, Future Ready Plan, P21, etc. The standards really are supposed to be used from top to bottom, national policy all the way down to the curriculum mapping that we do inside of our lessons, and so it's supposed to be kind of something that we take a look at every step along the way and see if what we are doing inside of our classroom, how we are making policy in general, is it conforming to these standards. But in the district, we have made a push to make sure that, especially this year, with as much time lost is inside of the classroom, we want to make sure that we are doing things like the just-in-time intervention. And again, none of these standards are interventions in any way, but I feel like I need to point out that everything that we talk about should go hand in hand with the things that are already going inside of your classroom. So we are not stopping our classroom to specifically go over these standards. We should keep these standards in mind as we're doing the lesson planning to make sure that that everything that we're asking our students to do, that we are touching on these things as we go along. And so this is just one more look at the intervention. But again, these things are more like these pieces right here, these little pieces right here that require us to just kind of touch on them as we go through and mention them, but not really take time out of the busy day in order to do so. I've talked over the last few weeks over what are the standards, how can they improve our evaluation domains, and I've said, if you are doing these things along the way, these are, the domain 1 through 4. These are things that you're pretty much set that you should be getting the highest score on. Because if you are truly doing these standards along the way and paying attention to each piece of it, then the highest level is not just achievable, but it's already happening inside of your classroom. And so today, again, there are 7 standards to look at. Today we are on number 3, which is the Knowledge Constructor. So the Knowledge Constructor, this standard will require students to not only understand how to contextualize the information that they get, but also to keep it and maintain it in a better way than they would normally. So this standard fights against a lot of things as well. It fights against the hyper information that's on the internet, and it's a place where because when you think about it, the internet is a place where you can go to get anything that you want as far as information, whether you want the right information or you want the wrong information. You can get something that will back up that idea that you have, or someone could get information that backs up their idea, even if it's entirely a wrong idea. So this standard really focuses on finding real, reliable information. And so basically we're asking students to do exactly what adults are not doing right now on social media, and that is finding real information instead of a funny meme or something like that, that they think tells the entire story whenever it doesn't. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. What I am sharing, the screen I'm sharing with you today is going to have a lot of links to other items today. So I'm going to share a link towards the end so that you can have your own copy, so that you don't have to write down every single, internet site that we come across along the way. So so don't stress too much as we go through. You will get the information given to you towards the end. Okay. One more time, I see a few people that have come into the meet, so I'm going to share the link to sign in to link to sign into today's session inside of the chat. I'm sorry, and just to make sure you guys have it. All right, so again, what we're going to be looking at today is Standard 3, and each one of these, it breaks it down into 4 substandards, and then there's a video that goes along with it, and I think that video tells a much better story than I ever could. So we are going to go ahead and watch this.
Students plan and employ effective research strategies to locate information and other resources for their intellectual or creative pursuits.
So in this project, our public speaking students are working with elementary students, helping them form their persuasive essays.
How are you doing today?
So we had a face-to-face technology with the students, and they were able to see them in real time and collaborate with them.
The high school students taught them when they were writing their persuasive speech, they have to have their 3 main topics. Well, you have to have facts to back those topics up. A lot of times they want to give their opinion. So one of the key parts that I was really impressed with how the high school students handled what's relevant research and how to find research that's important to your point, and not just look for research that's going to support your idea, but you also have to find that research that's going to go against your idea, because this was persuasive and they have to be prepared for the rebuttals. So they need to understand that it's not as simple as punching in a word and everything that comes up is fact. There's a whole world full of answers to any question, and the more accurate their research is, the more questions they're going to have, and questions equal learning.
So first of all, let me just say how cool that would be, right? To be in a classroom where we can really work on the same ISTE standard, whether you're a high school teacher or whether you're an elementary teacher. The students themselves are working on the same ISTE standard on there, but they were doing it on different levels, right? And whether we look at, like, Bloom's taxonomy, they were teaching instead of being taught. There's different levels for each point, but they were looking at the same thing. They were using the same strategies. They were passing on that knowledge. So how cool is that? To have those high school students work in tandem with the elementary students. So maybe before you leave today, if you're an elementary student, you can get in touch with one of the high school teachers and say, hey, I would love to do that in my class, and maybe you guys can work something out. But I think regardless of whether you go that exact route or not, there's plenty of things that we can do to improve our students' understanding of this. And so I wanted to kind of start this section with this and the definition of research, because I think it gets lost a little bit. The definition of research means that we take a journey of inquiry. We investigate, we interpret facts, we look at theories, we confirm, we deny, we actually look into it more than just doing a quick Google research, picking the very first thing at the top of the search and going with that. It's a lot more deep than that. It's, it says careful or diligent search, studious inquiry or examination, and the collection of information. Again, it's not just finding the very first thing. So as we look at that, I think that needs to be mentioned to the students. And I think it's really important to that we push that to them, that okay, how many items did you find during this research, or did you not? I see something across the chat. There, Aaron, if you look, there is I think it's called crosswalking the standards. I believe I might be mixing that up with something. I believe I've seen a document that compares, that kind of goes hand in hand with the Common Core. That might only be something that went in hand with the previous previous ISTE standards, though. So I'm not 100% sure. But if you look up crosswalking the standards, the ISTE standards, see what comes up. And if it's not that, then let me know, and I can take a look and see if there is anything further out there. Continuing on, this is one of the items that I think is important, and this is a particular lesson plan, and it's designed for grades 5, but I think it can be taken up a little bit, and I think it can be taken down just a little bit as well. And so again, all of these links, whenever you click on them, they will open up into a new tab. So whenever you get access to this slideshow, then you can take a look at it. But this particular one, if you are not familiar with common sense education, they have quite a few lesson plans for educators to be able to no, they're not your district adopted curriculum, so I wouldn't rely on these to drive your instruction, but they are certainly ones that are good to throw in as some extra practice or just extra things to think about while you continue to teach the standards. And so this particular lesson looked at, let me actually pull it up. This particular lesson looked at, it has the teacher showing off a piece of artwork that they know for sure, that the students know for sure was not created by a certain person, but the teacher is attributing that to someone else. And so then it starts looking at plagiarism, respect, and making sure that you're citing the right information, making sure that you're being truthful in your investigations. And then the students have to put those things together. And again, it has your hook, it has your direct instruction, it has your guided practice, your independent practice. It is a full lesson plan ready to go for you. Okay, part of this lesson includes a little handout for them. It says okay or no way, so read the following stories, decide if the person's actions was okay or not. So it looks at the the citizenship aspect of it as well, which we talked a little bit about about it last week, but I think it does go hand in hand with this as well. That if you are finding information online, that you're making sure that you're citing it in a way that is appropriate. Continuing on, this standard, again, it looks at gathering information that is credible, and I think in order to be able to do that, students have to know how to search for items. And so Google Search for Education provides lesson plans, again, for teachers that they can use to help teach. I'm going to go ahead and open this as well, to help teach how to search to educate or to students. And so, for example, picking the right search term, there's a beginning lesson plan, there's an intermediate lesson plan, and there's an advanced lesson plan. Understanding what those searches are, narrowing the searches, searching for evidence to research tasks, these are all tasks that students absolutely need to have. They are tasks, they are qualities that every educator needs to do a better job probably of as well, right? Is finding more credible sources. These are things that we should require before you're able to get on social media, I think. They are just good ideas of knowing what to look for whenever you're online. And so again, there are lesson plans for you that you can use to enhance these strategies. So I really do recommend the Google search lesson plans. Having said that, there is also a specific search engine that Google provides. Instead of just going to Google, you can go to scholar.google.com, and again, the link is going to be provided to you, but let's take a look at what this is. So if I take a look at, for example, head injuries in sports, instead of getting news articles, I'm going to get actual published sources from around, you know, different colleges and different journals and so forth. So head injuries in sports, whenever I click on this one, I am going to be taken to, here you go, here's a research article about it. And it is a free research article, so the students can get real, actual information that is going to have data that backs it up instead of, you know, just opinions here and there. So this is a great place to go. And I did do a full session over Google search, and so if you would like a little bit more information on Google search, then if you want to take a look back at the Cavern Crusade, it's going to have more information about that. So that is standard A. It's, you know, all about finding more information and making sure that it is more credible, and so let's look at standard B.
Students evaluate the accuracy, perspective, credibility, and relevance of information, media, data, and other resources.
Students were super curious about why. Why don't people vaccinate? They're curious and have questions, and so it allowed the students to look at both sides of an issue and then create something to share. Personally, I feel like students just go right to Google. However, there are certain resources that we feel are better for them to use. In the case of this, where you're looking at pros and cons of a very controversial subject such as vaccinations, they need to know that not everything out there is a valid, credible resource. So looking at a pro-con database, we even incorporated our librarian, our media specialist. He came up and showed them a little bit on how to use our databases here at school. We wanted them to find sources that are reliable, that are science-based, that are accurate. Now, I feel like they're a little more empowered when they see something on the news.
Well, talk about being ahead of your time, I guess, right? Talking about vaccinations here and why people don't believe in them, why they should or shouldn't believe in them, but doing so by backing them up with actual facts and information, as opposed to rumors and scare tactics for some. So this, what a perfect way to look at that, especially in today. We could have probably 90% of the classrooms in our district work on doing exactly what that class is doing in the next few weeks, and we would probably be better off as a city because of that. Now, having said that, obviously, everything that has to be, every search that has to be done, you have to first go over first of all, how to search, where to get the proper information. But what I love about this is then the students are going to be evaluating that accuracy. So it's not just finding something that's good. You still have to look at it. You still have to go and make sure that you understand where it's coming from. One of the resources I wanted to share was something like this. This is, it says Buy an Ancestor Online. This is a website. It says, oh, I'm not sharing the right one. Here we go. Here we go. Buy an Ancestor Online. So it's a website. Are you seeking personal connections with wealth and fame, or trying to join a prestigious American Revolution society, or looking to fill those blank spaces in your family tree? This is a place to go to find some great ancestors that you can be a part of, right? Obviously, this is not a real website. And this is a series, this is a group of websites that you can find that are designed specifically to be an incorrect website in a safe way for kids, for them to go on and say, a lot of this just doesn't make sense. A lot of this just doesn't sound right. And I think this goes into, there are a lot of websites that are actually real, that maybe they're not Buy an Ancestor Online, but they are websites that are not real, that the students are going to be navigating as they're looking for information, and we have to best prepare them for those websites. And so I think evaluating these websites is good to go. Is a good thing that we can do with them. So I got this from a a website out there, just 7 fake websites to really test their evaluation skills. Some of these websites, interestingly enough, are no longer there because they got picked up by the Google search engine, I guess, and Google search said, wait a minute, that's all fake, so we're not going to host them anymore, even though they were designed to be fake in the real, that was their design, was to be fake. So but it is what it is. There still are a few out there that you can go to that again would help in that regard. But one of the things that you can do as well, and you just gotta love the acronym on this, is the CRAP or Crepe if you have the double L and you don't want to say crap in your class. But it's evaluating sources. It's just a methodology that you can use inside of your class to be able to evaluate those sources. So it asks if it is current, if the timeliness of the information that you're sharing is most up to date. I'm sure everyone has been on social media and they saw a news article posted that just like, wow, that seems really, really weird in this time, in this day, for that to be said. And then you look at it and yeah, it's like a 6-year-old, news article or something like that. So it gets them to, first of all, just before you even look at the rest of the information, first of all, just look at the date. See if it's the most recent and up to date. Of course, then it just goes over relevance, whether it's actually what you're looking for, whether they are an authority, whether the source of the information that you are getting it from, if you're on a pet website, but they're talking about politics, maybe that's probably not the best place to go for that, right? And if you're on a politics website and they're talking about, dogs and cats, and maybe that's not the best place for that either. So you have to look at the who is the authority on that. Of course, then it gets into the specifics of looking at the actual details, the accuracy, the reliability, the truthfulness, and the correctness of the content. And then finally, again, it looks at the purpose. Why does this information exist? What is the reason for this information to be on the web? Why did the author write this? Do they have a hand in why it should be written? Was it just to produce content? What was it for? So this is a good place to look. I'm going to go ahead and share this. If you click on this whenever you get the link, you'll be taken to this website. And this is it provides a little bit more information about specific evaluations for different areas. So evaluating books and evaluating journals and articles, and each one of these there is some evaluation materials that go along with it. And what I really like is the evaluation sheet or the evaluation sources checklist to give something tangible to your students. I won't be able to share this because it's in Microsoft Word, so let me share this instead. This checklist that takes you through, the methodology. Is it relevant? Is it timeliness? And they have to it's something tangible that they have to write on in order to get through it all. So they have to answer questions as they go. So when you're looking at these sources, you're not just determining yes in your head and whatever. You're getting down into a little bit more detail with it and having the students really, really look at the information. So I really, really like this website for that. It has quite a few different sections that are designed to go a little bit deeper than just using the regular tool by itself or the methodology by itself. So that's there for you as well. Aaron says, I've used the CRAP, great tool. One problem, even college students have trouble recognizing actual expertise. College students, adults, I mean, I see people who, I've seen doctors on my social media page, just as an example, sharing things that, goodness, who knows why. Use this last year in my sophomore classes. It is really helpful. Yes, I think it is helpful. I think they're not going to be good at it, right? Because it's very, very difficult to be good at it. And especially in this day and age when everything is designed to look like it's more credible than it actually is. And so, but we are exposing them to this. We are having them look at it, and the more they think about it, that's as best that we can do. Is if they are actually thinking about those sources as they go through, then we've done a good job. And because I think that's most of the battle, is getting people to think before they share. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I think this is really huge. And I think if we all teach it, students will slowly get better at it. There is a knowledge gap there. I guess my point is, if you're going to do it, expect some messiness, and you're not going to teach one lesson and everybody's going to suddenly be
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. One tool that I use is I use the media bias chart, and I'm sure that there's bias built into the media bias chart, right? But I think this is a good tool. Whenever I look up news online, and I see an article that's posted that, man, that seems wild. That seems something. And then I look at this and I go, oh, well, yeah, they would say that because, they're here in this bottom section where conspiracies are, or they're very far to the right, or they're very far to the left. Of course, they would say something like that. And so I love this chart. Whenever I first started following it, it was on version 2.5 or something like that. So this is updated as frequently as possible. In fact, the last update on the one that I just shared on this one right here is January 2021. And it has a lot of things that are actually built into this that don't appear on this chart. So if I were to, I'm going to go ahead and click on this and share this tab. This is the static chart, the one that stays the same, but there is an interactive chart. And so one of the places that I like to go to get to read about politics, for example, is 538. I'm not sharing this. I like 538 because they are mathematically minded, and I love the approach that they take, just because it's kind of like politics for nerds, And so, but it's nice because I can come here and say, okay, yeah, they skew left, they look left, so they're going to be more heavily favored to this end of the political spectrum, but I know that going in, and so I can look at my expectations or look at the credibility based off of that information. And it's almost entirely up in this green section. That's the complex analysis. That's what we want to have, right? We want to have analysis, and we want to have as neutral as possible. 538 did not appear on the static chart, but it is found on this one. So you can take a look at this, and there are hundreds of different news sources that are here. So tools like this, and this is not the only one I'm sure that's out there, but tools like this are things that we need to be sharing with students as well. Not just the ability to look at a website or look at an article, but look at media as a whole, and take a look at where is it coming from, what is it doing, what's the purpose of why that it's there, and so forth. All right. All right, that's all I had on that session, or on that section, excuse me. Oh, you guys got your hopes up. I'm sorry. You thought we were almost done. We're getting there. Standard 3C. So continuing on just a little bit more. Any comments about that last section that haven't been said yet? Aaron, thank you for chiming in earlier. And I agree with everything that you said on that. So, all right, continuing on.
Students curate information from digital resources using a variety of tools and methods to create collections of artifacts that demonstrate meaningful connections or conclusions.
The students came up with some dance styles that they wanted to study, and as we were going through that process, I noticed that a lot of them wanted to learn more about dancing from other cultures around the world. We got ballerinas and 2 Zumba instructors. We got 2 dance studios to come in. So my students were able to use digital storytelling, communicating with me what type of shoes the dancers wear, the type of clothing they wear, where the dancing styles come from. We put that into our book creator, and the students were able to narrate and talk about what they learned. And we did this all to prepare for our Project-Based Learning Expo. They're going to be talking about what they've learned. They have questions that visitors can ask them, and they'll answer the questions. They'll show you a little bit of their dance. I think for the students to be able to see all that they've done, creating the books, making these posters to welcome our guests, everything we have, they've created, and they're really proud of their work.
So I think oftentimes we think of research papers as something that is, that's for the high school teachers to deal with. We don't want to deal with those. And this was a kindergarten class. No, it's not your traditional, research paper. They were really doing some project-based learning with this. But they are doing everything that a research paper would do, right? Except the extensive, paying attention to APA and MLA. That's the big difference, maybe. But they are curating information. They're getting that information from a lot of different sources and tools, and they're putting them together to create these collections. I don't have too much to share on this, but I do have a few things. The first thing is the digital curation tools. There are quite a few of them, but there are different categories of them. So you can take a look at selecting all of them, evaluating some of these things we've already kind of talked about today. But what about the storing of them? What about the annotating of them? Deleting them if they're no longer useful, sustaining them, archiving them, and so forth. So it's the different steps. And again, whenever you click on this, there's a website that goes with it. One thing that I use personally is the Google Keep Chrome extension, and I don't have it on all the time, so I might have to turn it on right now. Nope, it's there. And so one thing that I can do as an example, let me go to my scholar.google.com, and I will share this tab. Injuries in sports. I'll go back to this. If I am looking at different resources, and maybe I'm just in the gathering stage, and I'm going to gather quite a bit of information, I can use this Google Keep Chrome extension, and I understand you guys can't see what I'm doing, but I'm going up into my extensions and I'm clicking on Google Keep, and I think I have another extension that's messing with it, because it's not showing up for me. There we go. So let me share my entire screen so that you can see everything that I'm doing. So maybe I want to hang on to this, and I don't want to evaluate it yet, or maybe I've already evaluated it, but I want to make sure that I am curating it now. I'm gathering it. I can go up into my extensions, and I clicked on the puzzle piece on the top right, and I clicked on this Google Keep Chrome extension. If I can pin this as well so that it's always there. So now instead of having to search for it, it's right here at the top of my extensions. And I can just click on that, and it comes up, and it's basically going to add a bookmark. So it says head injuries in sports. I can add some notes, or I can add, maybe I want to copy this the sentence because it made, it made it for me. Whenever I highlight it, well, it's actually already copied for me here. And so, it's just a way to save it, right? And so it tells me it's already saved. I can add labels to it as well. So if I am doing, I use these for a lot of different things, but maybe I'm doing a novel study. So I'm going to click the novel study, and now it's tagged with what I tagged it as. And so whenever I go into my Google Keep, and I'm going to go ahead and open that up, here's the information. And of course, I saved it twice because I clicked on it twice. But if I go into my novel study section, so now here's all my novel studies, and here's all the things that I've gathered along the way. So again, it's just a way to curate it. It's just a way, back in the day when we used to write on the cards, right? The index cards, and we would write, where the book is and where to find it, and the pages that we kept. This is that now. It's just a way to gather the information so that whenever you're writing your research paper, you're looking into it more deeply, you have all of your sources ready to go. You don't have to go looking for them. So I can go, instead of trying to find this again later, I can just go into my Google Keep. Here's the address, and as soon as I click on it, it takes me where I need to go. So it's just a really, really good tool. And to put that tool, let me share the correct screen again. To get that tool, it's incredibly simple. There's a button right here that says remove from Chrome. If you don't have it, it's going to say add to Chrome, and you click that button and it's done for you. Same thing with the kids. You can share this URL with them. They can click add to Google Chrome, and the extension will be there for them as well. So this is a great tool for them to use. In addition to those things, one thing that I have taken a look at in the past as well of curating information. Hold on, you unmuted. There we go. One thing that, as we look at curating information, I think a great way to look at this as well is for the students to curate the work that they do as well. And so e-portfolios are a great tool that I can't recommend enough. Putting together basically a portfolio that can be done just inside of your class, or like other districts have done. I'm going to take a look at this high school student. There are districts around the country that they do one. This one only did it at high school and above, but I know that there's some districts that they basically start a Google site whenever the kid is kindergarten, and by the time they graduate, now they have their portfolio of every single grade that they've worked, and then one project or one thing that they did along the way, either in that grade or class or whatever the case is. So this was an example that was given by a district that here's her 9th grade, and so we can see 9th grade physics, for example, and so here's the 9th grade physics project that she did. And so here was her project report, and it has the information, it has the discussion, it has it has everything on there, and this is all work that the student did. So we can take a look at her algebra, and maybe this is just one project that she did or one thing that she did along the way, but she turned it into something that she can put inside of her portfolio, with the idea that when it's time for college and time to find a field of study, she has work that she can show off to people along the way. So I think this is a very interesting idea. And Aaron, is there a way to do this without publishing it on the web? Absolutely. If you use Google Sites, you can choose who gets to view this, and you can lock it down to absolutely no one. So you can add certain people. You can do share it just like a Google document. You can share it with as few or as many people as you would like along the way. So yeah.
So would the kids have access to that after high school for like a year or two, maybe? So
we have the tools that basically as seniors, there's a way that they can export all of the data, not just a website, but they can export all of the work that they've anything inside of their Google Drive outside to an external website. So we keep it. We're still, I think, technically writing that policy. We have a new director of technology, so I don't know if anything concrete as far as how long we keep them for. But I think it's just something that, hey, you're going to be graduating. Here's what we need to do for you to export this information to a personal, email address. So yes, there is a way for them to take it whenever they're done. On this, I'm going to leave a few of the other examples up here for you to take a look at, but I'm not going to go too much into detail. You saw the one that's on there. So the last standard is 3D, and let's go ahead and look at that.
students build knowledge by actively exploring real-world issues and problems, developing ideas and theories, and pursuing answers and solutions.
Loma Linda University, who's right down the street from us, we're partnering with them. Our students design, 3D print prosthetic limbs or artifacts for young kids in our community, where it might only cost them a couple $100 versus $10,000 or $20,000.
Right now we're kind of focusing on the lower knee because the patient does not have a knee. So right now we're kind of getting the whole frame of it because he uses like a sports prosthetic where it kind of looks like a little spring. So right now we're getting the base of it to where the spring part would actually connect to it. What's kind of motivated me to do this is I wanted the patient to be able to go outside and be able to feel comfortable with himself. Eventually I want to do this as a career, so I kind of like that I'm getting the experience right now, so it's helping me out, and it's kind of getting me used to talking to patients and being able to open up to them and to figure out their problem.
So this standard is all about the real world is gathering that knowledge in the real world, and not just the the old textbook way of doing things this way, right? These are the textbooks that I had whenever I was growing up. I always find it funny, I'm a math teacher, former math teacher, current, probably future, who knows, math teacher. And we always hear, bashing on the Common Core state standards. I didn't get taught like this. And it's like, yeah, you didn't get taught like that, but you're also bad at math, right? So we're trying to make students good at math. And we're going to try that for a while and see if that works out for us. But probably because most of the problems that we were given were just set in patterns and recall and memory, and if you don't use it, then you lose it, as they say. And unless it's done in something that tangibly that they can touch and feel and look at, it's probably not going to be something that they remember along the way. And so the video that we just watched, of course, they're using math, but they're using a lot of other things. It's really a project-based environment to build these prosthetics for people in their community. And so, first of all, beautiful, right? What an amazing way to teach. What an amazing way to learn. But keep in mind that real world, it could be literally real world where they see their benefit, but it could just be real world problems that they come across. So this is one thing that I'm going to share with you.
Throwing words out like zombies.
Has yet to release any definitive information regarding the scope of this virulent outbreak, where it originated, or how it spreads. If you think you or a loved one may be infected, please dial 911 immediately. Signs of infection include eye discoloration, muscle spasm, shortness of breath, and dangerous outbursts of rage.
Holy smokes! It's mayhem out there. I barely made it.
Oh my gosh, Jake, are you okay?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't see any of those infected out there. Just a bunch of looters and a ton of Crepe.
This is really happening.
Yeah, it is, Jilly.
We gotta get out of here.
No way. We are not going back out there. We need to ride this thing out right here.
Just sit here and wait until we get infected? What are you, nuts? We need to get out.
All right, I won't make you sit through all of my amazing acting ability here. The idea behind this problem, I think it comes in about right here.
$82.93. We're not going to make it across the country on this.
I do have enough water and ramen noodles to choke a college freshman.
Okay, but what about gas?
Well, I'm running on empty, but we drive a Prius.
All right, so you're missing quite a bit of context there, and please don't judge me too harshly on my acting there. I worked with a company called Mid-School Math, and we created, I should say they created, I helped in small, tiny ways here and there to create math lessons that were more engaging, that were part of this real world. Whether the real world included zombies or not, is up for discussion. But each one of these lessons, they're called 3-act problems, and they basically launch you with a story at the beginning, and they provide you with more information in Act 2. So in Act 2, we are trying to figure out whether they have enough money to get from one place to the other. And Yeah, that's a good idea, Aaron. And so where they're starting here in Phoenix, and they need to get to Savannah, and they are given some information. So here's the map. Here's how far, between between stops they are. Here's gas prices. Here's what the Toyota Prius can provide as far as fuel efficiency, and so we know how much money they have, and we have all the things that a regular math problem gives them, but it gives them something a little bit more, and not even a little bit, a lot more deep than that. And so these are 3-act problems that if you are in middle school, I have a few of them that I would love to share from grades 5 through 8, and but we have the ability to do this right out of the gate with the 3-act problems that are available inside of Envisions. And so Envision has 3-act problems built in, and these, whether you teach elementary or middle school or high school, these 3-act problems are kind of sprinkled in throughout. It's not every single lesson that they're available, but in many of them they are. I am starring in 2 of them. Luckily, they would not have sold very well if I was in any more than that, I think. And so, but here's what you're looking for. You're looking for this purple icon inside of Envision, and that's the 3-act problem along the way. So that's what you're looking for those 3-act problems. I cannot speak more highly of 3-act problems. If you are wanting more information about 3-act problems, either get with me, but you can also look up Dan Meyer on the interwebs. He is the authority, if we're going to use the CRAP test, I guess. He is the authority on 3-act problems. At least I think he is. And oh, I'm not. Am I what?
Are you supposed to be sharing a Dan Meyer website?
I'm not sharing a Dan Meyer website, but I can. So. He has the Dan Meyer blog. Here we go. So if I go up to, it's been a little bit, here we go, 3-act math up here at the top right. And here is actually content aligned, standards aligned practices along the way. Some of the paint is my favorite one to do, Nana's Paint Mix-Up. And so if you click on that, it takes you right to Nana's Paint Mix-Up. And it's a problem for students along the way. And so again, I recommend Dan Meyer if you're interested in 3-act. If you are interested in 3-act in the middle school, please get with me. I would love to come teach a class with you and show you how it was kind of designed and built, and we can have some fun with it. So. But that is just one way of, again, bringing in the real world into what we're doing. And so just a few other articles and things that you can do along the way. NewsELA builds in a lot of the news into what they do. It is as up and down in the middle as you can find, and it just gives the facts. There's no opinion pieces built into this. But you can see on the top here, I have the category of news. There's also an SEL collection. There's the cross subjects, and then specifically designed for ELA, science, and social studies. So NewsELA is a great way to add in some curriculum inside into your classroom. And we have done, I think, is this the one you did as well?
What?
NewsELA? Yeah. So Mandy actually gave a session, did a session over NewsELA in either November or December, and so it'll be on the Cavern Crusade. So if you want to take a look at NewsELA in more depth, you can do so there. There's also other places, Science News for Students, the Good News Network, just a few others that just provide some more real world examples of what's going on and what you can do inside of your class, how you can maybe build these things in as you're teaching, along the way. And if you are one, for example, like Channel 1 News, we used to have Channel 1 News that is no longer with us. It has been canceled. CNN 10 is one that replaces it. I know that CNN gets a lot of heat right now in the political environment for being fake news, all this stuff. It is not CNN does not run the same programming as CNN 10 does not run the same programming as CNN. What I do recommend, obviously, because we recommend this with everything that we do, is watch the video before you show it to your students. Make sure that it aligns with not your political perspective or anything like that, but that the facts are straight up and down the middle. And if they are straight up and down the middle, then feel free to share that video. I don't think I've ever watched any other videos that it wasn't straight up and down the middle. So it does a really, really good job of that. So again, when you're bringing in the real world into this, you're going to have to bring in things that are actually in the real world. Although zombies can be added as well, just for fun. So with that in mind, let me share the document for this. If you are watching this from a recording, then I'm going to have it at the bottom of the video so that you can just click on it to get to it. And here is the link. You can again use that to have access to all the links that I shared today. You can even take a look at that video in a little bit more detail if you want to see my great acting, and go from there. So with that, I'm going to post the sign in one more time. But other than that, I am done. Is there any comments or questions that came up along the way that didn't get addressed? I take the silence as a good thing, I hope. All right. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Again, the link to my presentation is in the chat. The link to the sign-in is in the chat. I'm going to be hanging around for a few minutes if you had a question that you didn't want to ask in front of everyone. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day, a good rest of the week, and I'll see you next time. Any questions before I take off?